Hello and welcome to WordNama, our monthly book discussion meet. And here we recommend, review, and discuss the books we loved reading. So without any ado, let's start the meeting, and I hand over the stage to our first speaker who joined the meeting in the sequence. We are just following the sequence of joining. So first to join was Vishaka. Vishaka, which book did you read and how did you like it?
Thank you, Sneha. And yes, I think I've read a couple of books since we've met. One more book, but I think I want to discuss two books that I've read in this time. And one of them is a Hindi book because I had decided that I want to read more books in Hindi because I realized that my reading speed in Hindi has suffered because of the lack of reading in the language. And in fact, I'll first start with that book itself. So I picked this book. This book is called Vasco da Gama Ki Cycle. It's by Praveen Kumar, who's a professor in Delhi University. And it's a collection of short stories. And the the book blends fantasy with folk tales. And I really enjoyed because I had not read fantasy in Hindi till this point of time. So it was very interesting to see blend of fantasy in the book. And he also touches on a lot of current issues, the political climate. Some of his stories, one of his stories that actually the title story, Vasco da Gama Ki Cycle, is based in Delhi. And the story talks about how political parties and the leaders make use of the people, just luring them with some um, position, promise of power, position, responsibility, and take advantage of them. And how this person's cycle actually comes to life and guides this person to not, get carried away by this and instead come back to his life. So that's a very interesting take. I did not enjoy a couple of stories. So I would not say that I enjoyed each and every story. A couple of stories were, uh, I think, average for me. But the title story and one more story, those two I really enjoyed. So overall, it's a good collection. Also, if you want to get back to reading contemporary Hindi, then it's a good choice. And the second book is, of course, as the regulars in the club would know that an Agatha Christie fan. So I picked up a book by Agatha Christie. It's called 13 Problems. I read it on a train journey that I happened to be on this last week. And this book is a collection of 13 problems that this happens over dinner at somebody's house, and everybody shares you know a murder mystery, and then everyone else comes together to solve it and figure out who's the killer, or um, so to say. So it's an interesting book because there are unlike other books of her which are like long form. This is like a good fast read because you have these short nuggets, short stories in here. So it's also an interesting book, and in fact, somebody who wants to start reading Christie, that this can be a good, easy starting point. But I think now I'm quite done with. I think I enjoyed her stories more in my childhood, but now I think I almost figure out who the killer is. So it's become very predictable, and her writing style has also become sort of predictable for me. So I think, yeah, I'll have to stop reading Christie for a while and then come back to her maybe later. So yeah, these are the two books that I wanted to talk about. Um, and yeah, looking forward to listen from everyone else as well. Thank you.
Great, Vishaka. Thank you so much. The second book sounds very much like Tom Hindle's book that I reviewed a few meetings back, where everybody plans, that tries to resolve a murder mystery. That's the plot, right? This of the second book, the Christie's book that you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are 13 different problems that they solve. So 13 mysteries that they solve. And
Oh.
every person on the table has to share one of the problems that they know of, and then
Oh,
everyone else guesses uh, the solution to the
oh,
problem.
wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice take.
Each chapter dedicated to one problem. So 13 chapters
Wow.
in yeah.
We can do something like that in our club also. Solve each other's problems. Okay.
Or
All right.
maybe
Yeah.
I was just thinking, Sneha, like ending, like guessing ending of a story or just building up a story. Each
Yeah,
one of
that's
us
what, we
do
can,
something
we can do
to
that.
that story. But it's fun.
Nice. Good suggestion. Thank you. Okay, Vishaka. Now, just write the name of the book and the author's name in the chat box. And okay, Jaidev, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so something I read, uh, like it's called The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka, I think if I'm pronouncing it right. It is a very quiet and emotional novel about I would say memory, aging, loneliness. The kind of story begins where there is a world where she's living in is divided into two parts. One where the whole world is like basically full of responsibilities, and the other world is very calm and composed, which is an underground swimming pool. And the narrative collective is that that swimming pool part where everybody comes in, they find peace, and they're called as we, not as individuals. So yeah, and it shows how the pool creates a strange little community of people escaping stress, grief, emptiness in their lives and everything. Changes when there is a crack in the swimming pool, which begins to like at the bottom of the pool, and most of the swimmers become very, I would say, obsessed and anxious about it because their comfort zone is kind of melting away. And then we are introduced to our protagonist, is Alice. She is a refugee from Japan who's now living in America, and she has dementia, and yeah, she's suffering from dementia. And when she experiences the pool and the crack in the pool, she kind of deteriorates mentally. After that, she shifted to this very um, institutionalized place called Bella Vista, where she's treated more like a patient. It actually explains how the refugees are shifted from their homes, their comfort zones, their lives to a place where something is very rule based, regulation based, and very marginalized for them. So yeah, and then it revolves around how Alice, her daughter, and her husband, their bonds and everything, how it changes throughout. How her daughter realizes initially she didn't pay attention to her mother, but after the mother is being um, put onto that institution where she's treated very much like a patient and classist and racism and everything. So yeah, it explores the themes of, I think, memory, identity, integrity, aging, routine, how fragile the human life is, and basically how refugees have to go through this very drastic change and everything. So yeah, I mean it's very repetitive and simple, but it's very haunting and emotional at the same time. So yeah, that was my I read. It's called Swimmers by Julie Otsuka.
It sounds interesting. What is the genre you mentioned? Genre of the book?
It's refugee literature.
Sorry?
Refugee literature. Refugee literature.
Refugee literature. Oh, okay. All right. Great. Thanks for sharing that with us, Jay.
I didn't know the category called refugee literature. Nice.
Yeah, that's what it's new to me also. Okay, thanks. Mention the book and the author's name in the chat box, Jay. Yeah. All right. So, Agami, would you like to go next?
Uh, Actually, recently I read The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. However, I read it over a long period of time, so it wouldn't be just to not define each habit without a proper justification. So that's why I would go with India After Gandhi. which I read a long time ago, but I have a clear idea of that book. So India after Gandhi is political history of India since 1940s till 2007. It is by Dr. Ramchandra Guha, who has wrote a lot about Indian freedom struggle and political views. And he, the writing style is more of a storytelling. So you won't feel like you are reading history. It's more like a storytelling. It actually tells us a lot about our present circumstances too. How actually those past events have impacted us and still impact us today, and how it changed the course of politics over the years. As well as you might even find certain things which most people wouldn't be able to type because of their political preferences, whether left or right, because there are certain instances which we know today and however are not true because we have learned it from the internet. And if you read that book, it's quite credible, I think. Even author has mentioned that he might be partial at times, but I did not seem to think he was partial. He was actually very just to both the sides, and that book has especially impacted me because I was already interested in history and politics since a long time, and it was a perfect book to clear my misconceptions about India and its political history. As far as I remember, that the book is actually very long. It took me around 1 to 2 months to read it. At times, it gets boring, but it is interesting to know about our country. It's a very clear depiction of what has happened in the past and how our leaders have capably managed it. And it also gives us insight into minds of our people, how governments were elected and how certain leaders who are even capable were rejected at times because the view of people matters the most in democracy. And at times they even face difficulties, as an example of 1977 when the first non-Congress government was selected. However, this government which was selected, it was a coalition which failed to meet the expectations which they actually projected in their manifesto. So again, Congress government came in power in 1980, and it's more about the minds of people, how elections impacted, and what was different back then and what is now. Because a lot of has changed, we have innovated a lot of things. Elections now serve a different purpose than it used to. And as we have grown so much, we have different aspirations as we had earlier. Earlier, it was more of survival of a nation. Now it's more about developing of the nation. We have actually come out of that era. So it is a good read. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Agamya. And extra brownie points to you from Jagdeep, because that's his favorite genre. Okay, all right. Please share the names of the book, name of the book and the author. Okay. All right. Vali, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I can go. So I went to see this movie, Project Hail Mary, and I was so intrigued by it because there was so much to see, and then I just had to buy the book to see how did he write everything, because watching is one thing, you watch, everything is right in front of you, and then you buy, and then I think the interval itself, I ordered the book and it was delivered the next day. So I read it. It was a very thick, long book, and more than half of it things were not covered in it. And it's a very interesting read, though at one point it got too sciencey, and I was like, why am I reading this? You know, because it was too much of a science. But then I said, I know the story, let me just go through it. I'll skip the science parts as I mostly used to. But then it again got interesting. It was just, I think, for the first few 10, maybe 5, 10 pages, that's about it. And I was about 70% through the book. I had seen the movie. I was 70% through the book, and still I did not understand the book. I don't want to give spoilers, so I will not say what I didn't understand. So it was after that, it became clear as he explained. So, all I'm trying to say is sometimes we just go and see the movie and we like the movie so much and we come back, and half the time we don't even understand what the main crux of the movie was. But I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. So if anybody is interested, I definitely recommend it. It's really nice. The second book I found in my library was, I don't know when did I buy it. It's self-editing. No, it's all blurred. Yeah, self-editing for fiction writers. I have read several books on writing, but this was the one book which had very practical advice, very practical things about it. And I want to say, even if you are just a reader, even if you are not a writer, I think this is something you can just pick up to be able to read better, to be able to identify which literature is good, how the author could have, or appreciate the work of the author and the editor in it. I'm just on the fourth chapter. I'm not. I'm going slow on it, and but I'm absolutely in love with it. And I'm just going to start Bridges of the Madison County. I think last time we were talking of it, and it got pushed forward in my TBR list. So yeah, I'm just going to start it today. Another book I started today on Kindle is The Great Gatsby, but these two I've just started. So I'll review them next time. That's what.
Great, wonderful. Do you recommend the book or the movie of Project Hail Mary?
See, for a reader, I think it's always better to read the book. If you're not a reader, then go watch the movie. You'll know what is it all about.
But you like the movie better, right? Better than the book.
Obviously, you see the movies, you see so much, but then when you read the book, you understand so much. It was very easy for them to show that the tunnel was made, but here it is explained how it was made. I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's so many things which are shown there and we take it for granted, and so many things are altered and not shown the way they were done, which in the book I understood. I think the only movie I think was better than the book was The Sound of Music, for the simple reason there was a lot of music in it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading the Independence Day after watching the movie, and I understood it when I read the book. So there's so many minor things, and because it's so visual and there's so much going on on the screen, that you do not take care of the minor things.
Yeah, that is true.
And in the book, you read it on your own pace. You imagine, like in this only, I'll just quote something. So this person says that you should, when you read, if the whole picture is shown to the person, they cannot imagine it on their own. So when we see the movie, so when I was reading this also, the movie parts were running behind in my back, but that means it was curtailing my own imagination in a way, because if I read, I can just imagine it in any way I want. But then by the end of it, it was so different that I could do it. So,
Yeah.
so if you have not seen the book and the movie, if you have not been there, so I'll say read the book first, then see the movie, because movie is also a visual treat.
No, I was just contemplating whether to put my head into it because people are saying it's a complex read. So I was not
No,
sure.
it's not complex. I just said it's only one point. At one point when it became a little sciencey and I was trying to understand it.
Oh,
I didn't understand it, and then I thought I'll just skip this. But I think I must have skipped not even 2 pages. I must have skipped just few paragraphs. First, I trudged and then skipped a few paragraphs. So I would say that was one negative point where I found with the science stuff. But it is not that much. I will not give it so much weightage that you don't read the book. The book, in fact, now I have to read his second book also, the one with Martian or something. Yeah.
No idea. Okay.
Yeah, it's something Mars. I have a name somewhere.
All right.
Yeah, just
Okay.
the name. One
Sure,
second.
sure. You find the name by the time I'll reach out to our other speaker. Okay.
Yeah.
That will save us time. All right, Jagdeep, would you like to go next?
So good
Yeah.
to see you all again.
Same here.
I've been stuck in that book, Whisper, The Wheat Field Still Whisper by Malika. Punjab for the past year or so has been an issue of intrigue for me. This book is this oral history kind of a thing, something that Anchal Kapoor does. I mean, like nobody can do as good as Anchal does, but then the history of Punjab is as troubled as it can get. So this has those anecdotes, etc. This has stories of Jalandhar and Ludhiana. I was there for 8 days, 10 days this February. Now, as recent as 2006, abductions, kidnappings, murders, gun violence, 2006, was so normal. And where does this go back to? This goes back to 1984. Somebody back in that particular year did something and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is an extremely academic book. You need to know a lot what has happened. The author, to her credit, does explain the background, but then she doesn't unfortunately succeed in doing that. So maybe if oral history of that troubled time is something that you're looking forward to, this book is good. Basharte, you know what's happened. You'll have to do your homework and then come to this class. So that's the background. I picked up this book, Ego is the Enemy by Fran Holiday. I have subscribed to his mails. They come daily. Stoicism is something that's something that we all must inculcate to the extent possible. I am thoroughly enjoying this. A lot of what he says appears to be contrary. That's how these Western authors have been all the time. A lot of self-help / non-fiction / realism / memoir history kind of genres that you see, especially from Western North America. This is how it works, where they are as contrarian as possible. And that's how, Silicon Valley, you see Silicon Valley doing things that they do. But otherwise, it's a very good book. There's one line, however, that I want to say and then end whatever I have to say, because frankly, I don't have much to say. Yeah, and that's how it happens to us. You don't find things exactly when you want them to. Otherwise, all these lines come to you. You are in a very romantic mood with your wife, and then you get reminiscences of a particular line, a particular king said to a particular queen in the middle of a particular war. Anyways, some are prepared for the vicissitudes of fate and some are not. What will you choose? Who will you be? Now, this is so profound. You really can't expect what fate is going to hand out to you. And here is this gentleman who was 26, 27 when he wrote this book, is saying something so profound. How competent do you think you are to face whatever fate is going to throw to you? So why I find this book to be, a good mental stimulation. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll drop in the whatever.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jagdeep. For a change, you read this the other book, and I'm glad you did because it sounds. I also have this book, by the way. Someone gifted me. Now that you've reviewed it, I'll pick it up someday. Okay. So who's left? Okay, Ajay, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I can go next. So the first book I've actually ended up reading three and like nearly finished the fourth. So if that's too much, I can share three. So, so the first one is Education of Yuri by Jerry Pinto. And for me, it was a really, really wonderful book. I don't know if you've read it, how he creates characters and how the, I kind of always compare his character creation to, to a meal, to like something which is like seasoned food, how if you make something, it's getting seasoned over time and it tastes better the next time. So I see his writings in a very similar way because his characters keep playing back. And I think The Education of Yuri was a lovely book. It was especially someone like me who's grown up, who's lived in Mumbai for a long time. So it was a lot about deeper layers about Mumbai, and a lot of the the areas and the surroundings were all very known to me, all down to the where you get the vada pav and things like that. So it was really very, very interesting. And I think the whole concept of Bombay being a substitute parent and how the character Yuri develops his character through daily occurrences, small, small things which happen in his life, which create the character of who he really is. And, also the whole thing about, even small, small, incidents which he talks about in the book, which bring to life how character for every one of us develops through everyday incidents. The lie which you didn't tell, but you thought about it, is a reflection of character because you overcame that need to say the lie. So, I think it was really, really an amazing book. Uh, Also, I think at one level, the character Yuri is about people who don't belong. And I think all of us, I think it's a very universal theme that each of us in some parts of our own existence, our own personality believe we don't belong. So I think that part of his character really spoke to me. So Education of Yuri, Jerry Pinto is the first book. The second book, I'm in the last 15, 20 pages, is Mother Mary Comes to Me. So Arundhati Roy, amazing book. I wonder how she navigated the truthfulness and what parts she, could have avoided, or, at least being an animal lover, I hated the fact that her mother killed a dog, for example, shot her dog. And so, things like that, was there any need for it? I don't know. But things like that really created this character of her mother in such a sharp way. Um, yeah, so Mother Mary, I think I'm still digesting it. It's a good book, well written. I didn't really like Arundhati Roy's personality too much. I used to have mixed feelings, but this gives me a background about her life, which really makes me think. So I think a lot about how things influence us, and what that might mean, even parents and stuff like that. So I think that was a lovely, really lovely book. The third book, which I want to share, is a very, very interesting book. I saw this en route to a trek. I had gone to Ladakh, and in one small homestay, I found that book there. And it's an interesting book. It's called Astonish Yourself: 101 Experiments in the Philosophy of Everyday Life by a guy called Roger Paul Droit. And it is such an amazing book. These are these 101 experiments of, and I'll just read the title of what type of things they are. So wait while doing nothing, try not to think, go to the hairdresser, shower with your eyes closed, absolutely swallow your emotion, and absolutely crazy book. Every experiment has a title. So the first one is Call Yourself. It says the experiment you can run for about 20 minutes. So duration, the props, silent place, and effect, it just says double. So then you become curious and you read it. So absolutely amazing experiments. I just love this book. So this was the third one. And the fourth and final one is an anthology. Many of you may have read this. It's by Paromita Vora, Love, Sex and India. It's about what happened in India when India talks about sex. And it's a very, very interesting anthology. People have, kind of written about all different perspectives about sex in India. And right from gay people to, all cis normal, everybody. A lot of the terminology I didn't even know very well, like what is cis normal, and so it was a good exposure to all of that. Yeah, and because it's an anthology with all sorts of writers, it's an amazing collection. So yeah, so these are the four books that I wanted to share.
Great. Ajay, this Arundhati Roy's Mother Mary came to me. Is it too emotionally heavy, like Gods of Small Things?
Yeah, it is emotionally heavy, especially some of her, like when she talks about her father, her father, who of course disappeared completely, but in the latter years when he comes back in the book, which she writes about him, I can't even imagine thinking about my father like that. It's such a sad depiction, but yet it's so honest. It is who he was and who she knew him to be, and the way she's written it, it's heartbreaking. It is very emotionally disturbing at times, but still, no, worth a read, I would say.
Yeah, I'm saying it because I want to take a break from this kind of genre, so maybe I'll come back to it later. But
Yeah.
because I love Arundhati Roy's writing,
Okay.
God of Small Things is one of my favorite books, so I'll
I
definitely.
haven't read it, and I want to read God of Small Things after reading this.
It's wonderful. Too emotionally heavy, but yes, wonderful.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much, Ajay. All right, who are we? Nibras, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I read 4 books in this time interval. First, I wanted to say that one of my friends, Tabassum, had read Mother Mary Comes to Me, and she was not telling me about it. She was like, "There's something happens to an animal. I'm not going to tell you." And Ajay just said it to us. And something happened in Srinagar a couple of days
I'm
ago to
sorry.
a dog. It's okay. Something happened to a dog along the similar lines, so we are still reeling under that. And then now I know what happens in the book. So, about the 4 books that I read, I'll try to keep it short. First is this At Night, All Blood is Black. It was the winner of the 2021 International Booker Prize. It's translated from French. It's by David Diop. He's not the translator, he's the writer. So, I feel like in the recent times, I've been developing a taste for fiction in which you have to do some kind of a background reading. So, there's a historical context and you read within that. So this is set in World War Second, and it's set in Senegal. There are these friends. They are very close to each other, and they are fighting the war for Germany against France in Senegal. So what happens is that during one of the battles, one of the friends is killed, and they are very close to each other, so much so that they call each other more than brothers. Like it's a phrase that they use: "We are more than brothers." So his friend, when he dies, he gets disemboweled. So they are lying in the battlefield, and because there's the fighting is still going on, they cannot get up. So they are both lying there, and his friend is on his side, and his intestines are on the ground on his side. So they're both lying, and his friend begs him to kill him. He tells him he begs him to kill him so that he can get rid of his pain and everything else. So what happens is that this friend, he does not kill him, at least not until the friend keeps repeating himself. And then after this, this becomes a core memory for this friend who lives, and how it affects his personality, how it changes him. That's what this book is all about. And I think one of the important ethical questions which it asks is because this friend is now filled with like feelings of revenge. So up till when is revenge justified? Like till when are you seeking revenge for some wrong which was done to someone dear to you? And when does it become something you're doing for your own self to satisfy some part of your own ego? So the writing is beautiful, even in translation. There are some parts that I found hard to get through, and there's one thing about this book is that it uses the imagery of the female body in a very peculiar way. So I don't think I'll be able to explain it like this. I have a written review for this. Maybe that will be better. But the imagery, I mean, it's worth noticing how that imagery of the female body is used to talk about war. For example, for a small instance, they have dug a trench, and the soldiers, when they march out of the trench, like in droves, he likens it to the act of birth, like the earth is birthing them. So those kinds of images are found throughout the book. So All in all, I liked the book, and it's a short read. It's very thin. So this was the first book. Then the other book was this. It's called A Slip of a Girl by Patricia Riley Giff. This is a book in verse, so it's not completely prose. That's why it was a fast read, because there's not much to read. So this I would say that there's no real rhyme or rhythm to it, so you won't feel like you're reading poetry. If we have to talk about poetic merit of the book, it probably qualifies as a free verse. So this book is set in the time of the Irish famine, which led to the colonization of Ireland by Britain for about 100 years. The vestiges of that are still felt in modern day Ireland. So this is about a girl whose family is affected by that war, and so this entire book talks about the point of view of the girl and how she sees things around her change. It's heartwarming, but at the same time, because it required some background reading and introduced me to things that I didn't know about, so I really liked it. The funny thing is, I had picked this book up because of the cover. The cover was really pretty, but then the book was also really good. And then the third book was this book. It's called Perfect by Rachel Joyce. She has written The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, which is a more famous book by her. I have not read it. This is the first book that I have read. So it's about a man who who has some kind of an obsessive compulsive disorder, and this book is set between two timelines. And I won't say how the timelines connect to each other, but the book starts with a small boy who is told that the government has decided to add 2 seconds of extra time to the available time to us. And he thinks that that is going to change everything. And his obsession with these extra 2 seconds, which he doesn't understand how somebody can simply decide to add extra 2 seconds to every day. So his obsession with this is the first indication that he suffers from some kind of an obsessive compulsion. But when the timelines connect in the book, that is how you realize what is happening. But overall, if the writing of the book is beautiful, and this book had some really, really pretty descriptions of nature. And those descriptions, those kinds of nature descriptions, which force you to sort of slow down. And it's a book about love and loss. And I think it's also in some ways a book about what it means to be an imperfect human being. So that is this book. Now, the last book which I read, which is my favorite of this lot, I don't have a physical copy of it. It was on Kindle. It's called Hunger by Knut Hamsun. It is also a translated work from Norwegian. It's about a writer who is very poor. He lives in Oslo. Oslo is called Christiania in the book. And the book is divided into 4 parts. It's not a short read, but the way it's written, you can read it like in 1 or 2 days. So the book is divided into 4 parts, and the theme of the book, hunger, you can feel it throughout the book. So in each of the 4 parts, I'd say the story goes like a bell curve. Like something starts happening to the writer, and then there is this point of climax where you're like, just give him something to eat. He's hungry. Please let him eat something. And then there is a small resolution, and you feel that small relief for that person that he got something to eat. Then the second part again starts with he's struggling and the theme of hunger and the theme of hunger. So that's how all the 4 parts of the book look like. And the book, I think, resonated with me because I was trying to be a writer at some point. So that was might be one of the reasons why I liked that book the most. And then there is this part in the book where you can see that the protagonist has a lot of patience. And sometimes you're like, because you are getting irritated with the patience that he's showing. And even in the book, he calls himself at one point, he calls himself a virtuous idiot. And I was like, he couldn't have described himself in a much better way than this. He is exactly a virtuous idiot. And at one point, his patience, it just shatters. And he starts complaining to God, and he uses very strong words. It's like 1 or 2 pages of those complaints. And that was a very intense thing to read. So, but also that was the thing that cemented this book as one of my favorites. So, absolutely loved Hunger by Knut Hamsun. So yeah, those were the 4 books I read. And my top recommendation among the 4 is Hunger by Noor Thompson.
Great. How do you manage to read such emotionally heavy books one by one? I mean, one after the other. Don't you think it's too much to handle as a reader?
I think I'm not that much of an emotional reader. I read A Little Life, and many of my friends were so affected by it. One of them was crying for days. She lost sleep over it, and when she recommended the book to me, and she was expecting me to be affected the way she had been affected, and then she was kind of pissed off at me because I was not affected by it in the same way.
Yeah.
So I think I don't, ever since I started writing, when I read a book, I think I'm more concentrating on the writing techniques. Maybe it's
Yeah.
because I'm maintaining that kind of, it's sad, but I'm maintaining that kind of an emotional distance. But even so, even if I was actively trying to do it, even then also in Hunger, I could feel that. There were certain paragraphs, they were like arrows to my heart. But then I got over it because I work in the lab, and the lab is like, get over it.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, because all the 4 books sounded very emotionally touching, poignant. So, Nibras, did you think the first book deserved a Booker Prize? Because I've heard sometimes
Actually,
it
this
just,
is the
yeah,
first Booker winner that I have read. So I have nothing to compare it to.
okay.
The story is deserving of it. I mean, I don't know what it would have sounded like in French. The story definitely is there, and the psychological impact of this, it's well written. Because I'm not telling you what happens to
Yeah, yeah.
the guy who suffers from it. I'm not telling you what becomes of him. Maybe if I tell you that, you might get more insight into the book, but I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay. So more value to the story than the word choice. You think the story
No,
deserves to be.
it's beautifully written. It's beautifully written. I'm not doubting it. There are very beautiful sentences in the book. I had a little bit of a problem with the imagery of the woman, with the way he used the imagery of the woman. But then I think the whole book is so raw and stark. Like the very idea of that man's intestines lying on the ground next to him, it starts out like that. So then I thought the way he's using the imagery of the female body is kind of in sync with the general imagery in the whole novel, because all of it is in the middle of war. What was I expecting?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Understood. Great. Thank you so much, Nibras. And really kudos to you and Ajay who managed to read so many books in the past few months. Great. Nupur, would you like to go next?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Please.
Hello,
Take it.
everyone. So the book that I finished, thanks to the group, because of the group and for the upcoming meeting, I finished this book. Actually, I was not able to finish any book in last like 3-4 months. I'm stuck on that one, the book of Lasting Things, written by Achal Malhotra. It's very nice. The book is very nice. Just a second. Sorry. So, but then I picked up this book. Unstoppable Us. It's by Yuval Noah Harari, the same writer who wrote the book *Sapiens*. He wrote the book *Sapiens*. The author of *Sapiens*. So, from like a very long time, I wanted to read the book *Sapiens*, but I don't know. I'm not able to like pick it up. I'm always feeling that it might be very heavy, or I won't be able to understand it. So, whatever is the reason, I just found this book, and I found it very interesting. Like *Unstoppable Us*, it is written by the same author. It is written mainly for children, but I found it very interesting, I would say. It is very informative, easy to read and understand. I read it very fast, and it's full of illustrations, and I love those illustrations also. So the main point, the book starts like this: that the main point is how we humans ended up like ruling the world. We aren't as strong as like lions. We are not. We cannot swim as well as dolphins, and we don't have wings, but still we end up ruling the world. So how did that happen? So this book tells many things, many points. The writer points out many things that how this thing happened, and so I liked it. I liked all the main points I liked about. The main thing he mentioned was we humans have the power to cooperate. Like we cooperate in large numbers. Animals don't do that. They live in small groups and they don't trust many animals. So they and unlike us humans, we just trust people. Like if we use anything at our home, then it comes from many people. We ourselves did not create it or invent it or grow it. So we trust them. So this is our major power, that we are able to cooperate and we are able to believe in people. So there are many points which I found very like prominent, very important, and very perfect. Yeah, the writer is making a point there. So, but I would also say that there are many things which are left as speculations, but because when it is mainly he's mainly talking about Stone Age. So when we talk about Stone Age, then there are many things that we cannot be sure of कि ऐसा ही हुआ है. So there are many speculations also, which are quite vague, but I still found them interesting to read all the possibilities that could have happened. So, and then later, they've also the writer has also mentioned how we travel. Like according to him, there were different types of humans who lived in different parts of the world. Like sapiens lived in Africa, then in Europe, different types of humans lived. So how we moved to all across the globe, how we moved to all the parts of the world. So that is also that also I found interesting. And mainly when the humans reached Australia, there were no humans there. There were only big animals. They used to live there. So how humans reached there, and how after humans reached such places and the animals gradually got extinct, like how the arrival of humans led to the extinction of the animals. So this has also been explained in a very nice way, which I liked. So I think I like this book. And I don't know if it is a substitute for Sapiens, but I feel good ki yeah, I finished it. And today only I finished it because we had this meeting. So thanks for this book club, I would say. And yeah, I found this book very interesting and very informative. Perfect for children. I think children would love it. So it's a nice book.
Yeah, so I think it might be a smaller version of more compact version of the original book. Because it is meant for
maybe.
children, maybe the language also is easier.
Only I think those who have already read Sapiens would be able to tell that. I
Okay.
haven't
Yes.
read it, so I can be sure. I
Great.
can know.
Great. No, but do share the book name because even I would like my children
Yeah.
to read this.
Yeah,
Sounds very
children will
interesting.
love it.
Yeah.
And it is in 2 volumes. I've finished first volume, abhi to, and I plan to read the next volume also. So yeah, it's
Okay.
nice.
Tell us how was it? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you, Nupur. Tabassum, are you there?
Yes, Neha, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, good to
I
have you.
was
Yeah.
I was not feeling well. I thought I would not make it today. But I have read few books. I wanted to take a break from the emotional stuff, so I started reading non-fiction, and one of the book I completed was by Jessie Incaps. I don't know how is the pronunciation of her name. So she has written the book called Glucose Revolution. It's about how you become what you eat. I love the book because we all are, I mean, swimming in the glucose, and our life is so circulating. I mean, we all are we all are dealing with these things like cravings, sugar cravings in our daily life. And she has talked in a scientific way how we can deal with all the things. So the book talks about how you can manage your cravings by including the fiber and protein in your diet, and how it can change your emotional status as well as your physical status of the body. So that's why I like the book, because I think I was myself struggling with a lot of emotional baggage lately. So I started reading it and I enjoy it. I think whoever is dealing with any sort of physical instability in the life or emotional instability for that matter, because as a woman, we are dealing with all the things and our hormones keep fluctuating in a way. It has a lot to do with what we eat and what we include in our diet. So I think it's very good book if somebody wants to change the habits and in the life. And another book I read was by Ritvik Singh, Thank You for Leaving. I love the book. It talks a lot about the heartbreak and how one can move from that. I love certain elements of the book. It includes both poetry and prose. I love poetry parts of the book. So he talks about how he was in love with this girl and how she is no more in his life and how he moves from that heartbreak. And I couldn't relate that much to the book. I think the people who have suffered the heartbreak might relate more. I pick up the book for the cover. The cover is very beautiful. But I ended up liking some of the elements of the book. And after that, I gave this book to one of my friend. I thought she might need this book more than me because she was struggling with some things. If somebody is struggling with the things like heartbreak or not able to move on from certain things in their life and being emotional about that, I think this book gives you a hope in a very positive way. So I like the book quite. I'm also reading one more book, but I couldn't finish that book, so I will talk about that book in our next session, hopefully. And I have a question for everybody who writes. I mean, how you guys deal with the emotional stuff you write and how it impacts your brain and your body. I really wanted to know because I am dealing with a lot of emotional baggage while writing. And I couldn't move out of that for days.
Yeah, I think Tabassum, we can take up this topic in the group because I'm sure many people have different perspectives and we have quite a few writers in the group. So, I mean, I would always recommend journaling because it really helps. But I'm sure people have different views. So we can take that up. But just very briefly, I would like to, because I have to turn off the recording. Let me just give the book review that. Are you done, Tabassum? Do you have more reviews?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, great. We'll take up this topic for sure after we are done. Just let me quickly give the review for this book because I just loved it. If you could see it's Gulzar's short story collection, Ravi Par. Ravi Par by Gulzar. And some of the stories are brilliantly written, although the original story is written in Urdu. But three stories really stood out to me. Number one was Lekin. It was titled Lekin. And the central part of the story is a man called Devraj. Devraj visits an abandoned station every evening, and the narrator crosses paths with him. They become acquaintances. And one day, Devraj mentions that he saw a train at the deserted station, which is something difficult to believe because no train has ever stopped for years at that station. And then he also adds that I saw my son showing his ticket to the collector, and his son had died years ago. And from that moment, the story slips into mystery. And it makes us question whether now, which is coming now that we read about, is real or it's memory or it's longingness. So I loved that twist and that eeriness in the final revelation of the story. It was has been beautifully ended. The second story I loved was titled Michelangelo. Now, I'm not sure it's about the real Michelangelo, but it's about the artist. There's an artist named Michelangelo, and he has to paint the walls of a chapel, old chapel. On one wall, he has to paint baby Jesus, and on the final wall, he has to paint the Last Supper and Judas. So now he, instead of relying on the imagination, he's looking out for real life models, muses for his paintings. He finds a poor half-naked child on the street and he paints him for baby Jesus. Now he is on a wild goose chase to paint Judas. He can't find a face which captures his darkness and betrayal. Finally, when he does, he finds a man at a pub and he thinks he had bloodshot eyes and he thinks this man will be perfect. But there is something that is revealed about the character that leaves him questioning his artistic and moral assumptions. So artists usually have an idealized view of looking at humanity. So the ending, the revelation, it makes us question this belief too, that how much is real and how much is assumption. And I really love this writing style of Gulzar, which is very similar to Manto, because I've read both the authors a lot. They never add excessive drama to their stories. They depict human vulnerability and capture it in a very restrained and honest way. So I love that style. Both of have strikingly similar style of writing. So I love this part about the story. The third story is the title story, Ravi Par. Has anyone of you read or heard about it? Because so many people had recommended this book that I thought I'll buy one for myself. And it was only for Ravi Par. So it's again, the backdrop is partition, much like Manto, what Manto writes to write about. So people are fleeing from Lahore. They had been hiding in a Gurudwara in Lahore, and they are fleeing from Lahore to India. So the commute, the travel between the two cities is the heart of this, the two countries is the heart of the story. And the best and the most unsettling part about it is the quiet realism. It's, again, as I said, there is no excessive drama. It's honesty in its most rawest and purest form. So we know what is happening, but we still tend to, uncover the layers beneath it. So that's the beauty of their writing. And I think Ashok Bhalla has done a great job in translating the original story because, again, it's very fluid. And I'm sure that the original writing must be the same because we know how Gulzar writes. So I think he has done great justice to the original story. So yes, thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for being here. And we'll continue our discussion. And let me just stop the recording.